Hello, my name is Ruben Benzel, and I'm a high school math teacher at Huron High School. This is my ninth year overall. I teach a lot of geometry. I have a calculus course, and I teach some algebra 2 sometimes as well. But I wanted to create a video to help parents out there think about how to support their students in learning math during the pandemic and e-learning and hybrid right now. And I wanted to kind of give you some insider strategies as a math teacher to work with your student and develop a positive mindset for your student to learn math. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is rbenzel@huronhighschool.org if you have any questions about your particular student. All right. I wanted to start with some myths to dispel. And I have seen these myths in social media rantings about e-learning and hybrid. And I think that there's some misconceptions that parents have about e-learning, particularly at the high school level. So one of the myths is that I hear that scholars have to teach math themselves. Um, well, I want to tell you that one of the goals as a high school math teacher is for your student, even when we had school in person, to become an independent learner. And what I mean by that is somebody who comes into class and takes charge of their own learning, is engaged during class, is taking notes, responsible for their assignments and their deadlines. So what we are working towards is actually developing your scholar into becoming an independent learner. So e-learning has actually been really good because I've been pushing my students to take their own notes over the material, where I have instructional videos 24/7 that are up. And all that the students have to do is take notes that include all the major definitions and worked out examples as well. And I've even encouraged kids to actually write down questions that they have on the side or even offer commentary about the material. And I actually read those notes with a fine tooth and comb as I am grading them. Another thing that we as parents sometimes worry about, we want our kids to be successful. And I will tell you that as a parent of a 3-year-old, I want my kid to be successful in what they do. But I think it's important to also realize that mistakes and getting problems wrong is actually healthy, and doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad at math. So I think it's necessary for students to get problems wrong and develop good coping strategies to an incorrect answer. And that's actually going to help them really gain a lot of knowledge and enrich their learning experience as well. And then finally, another complaint, and I don't know how other math teachers work, but most math teachers, do want to help your child succeed. So I really encourage you to be proactive and communicate with your child's math teacher if you have any questions about their progress. And we can even arrange Zoom sessions to help your child too. I know that during office hour days, I have like a little interactive drawing thing so I can actually work problems on the whiteboard feature of Zoom. So we are very fortunate right now to have entered an age that I think is better than 2006. So that was around a time when I was taking like geometries and algebra 2s. And it's better in the sense that, back in 2006, we were stuck with a textbook and one math teacher lecturing at the board. But now math has become sort of dynamic and there's an online community of math. You can watch videos of multiple thinking styles of each concept being presented. I mean, there's so many different instructional videos out there and online programs. The teacher has also moved into more of a facilitator and coach. So during class, maybe we would have our guided notes, but then we would also have like some problem solving workshop, with whiteboard practice during class. And then also, one very exciting development that I think is really good is sort of this computer adaptive aspect to some of these math programs, where if a student gets a problem right, they move to different skills or harder problems within that skill. And if they are struggling, they're given resources online and can even be given easier or more basic problems to work through first. So this moves away from the problems at one level idea. All right, I want to talk about some good online math platforms. I think having a good online math platform is very essential. So one platform that I really like is Delta Math. So that's what we use. And it has a library of standards from 6th grade all the way to calculus. You do have to pay to get an individual subscription, but I think it's worth it. And their premium has, access to instructional videos with the problem. The students get real-time feedback, and I can very easily create assignments that have problems of like multiple levels, and I can pull from, the library of the standards, and there's actually some really good high-quality questions on there. Like geometry students get to engage with constructions and think about how do parallel and perpendicular lines work, or how do you copy a congruent angle with just a compass and a ruler, or how do you use a protractor to explore angle properties, or in calculus there's actually graphical demonstrations of calculus concepts embedded in some of the examples. Another program that I like, in some ways better, is Khan Academy. And I like it a little bit better because it's free. It goes all the way down to kindergarten. The one drawback is from the teacher's side, it's a little bit more difficult to manage. And they have a lot of skills. I'd say too many for their own good, but it is comprehensive. But your student can choose any math course, take a diagnostic test, and then be given a set of skills to work on. And it's computer adaptive. So as the student gets the problems right, they move to new skills and they get those harder problems. So I think that computer adaptive piece is very, very good. And it's also works in a similar way to Duolingo. So it's kind of cell phone app, game style, and very well wired, I think, for that teenage brain. I would suggest that you stay away from any app that is created by a standardized test company like Pearson or McGraw-Hill. I know ALEKS is kind of a big game in town in a lot of schools. I've heard a lot of complaints about ALEKS from students, and in looking at ALEKS, it is complicated. They ask questions in standardized test ease style. So you're getting questions that may not be of the best quality, that are just written in a developmentally inappropriate way. So that's why I don't recommend that. So I wanted to give you guys a case study right now of 2 students that have A's in my e-learning classes. So student 1 is a geometry student with an A+, and they aced their mastery. But you can see that when they practiced, they started with getting many of the different question types wrong. But what they did is they studied the worked out solution to the problem, or they even watched the video on how to do the problem, and then they were able to get the questions correct after that. So this student actually currently has an A+ in my geometry class at this point in time. And despite the fact that, about 20% of the time on Delta Math, they are getting incorrect answers. So they're really, taking it as a learning opportunity to get better. Growth mindset. Student 2 is a calculus student. So I was talking to her in office hours last week, and I went through, a total number of problems that she's done, and she's done 248 calculus problems and has only gotten 139 correct. So she's almost missed as many problems as she has gotten correct. But when it comes time for mastery assessment, she does very reasonable on them. But that's because she's been able to practice, and she's able to get the experience of getting questions wrong and then thinking about what to do better next time. So she's actually done over 30 minutes of her own video watching. So this is a student that I think will be going into college next year, ready to go, and has the perseverance and the grit, to be able to practice these skills. So I think that just because somebody is getting questions wrong doesn't mean that they are doomed for failure in the class. But instead, what matters is how we get the problems wrong. So I kind of want to leave you with a thought that I like to tell my students. So I tell my students that it is important to learn how to get problems wrong. So what I mean by that is that students who go back to the worked out solutions and think about how does their reasoning differ from the correct reasoning, or goes and takes advantage of videos, are going to do a lot better in long term on something like a Delta Math or a Khan Academy. I also think it's important to watch instructional videos and almost keep a running record of the examples. So, like learning jazz, it is really important to have that melody first. So the definitions and the examples are like the melody and the scales that you have to do before you can really do that improv. So a lot of math is hard, though, if you don't know the vocabulary and you don't have any examples to work off of. And then I think it's also important to really make an effort to seek guidance from others when you are stuck. I believe that if your student adapts this mentality, they will have a lot of skills to be not only successful in the pandemic, but also successful in general in the 21st century as well. And they will find themselves a lot more prepared for their college and their careers.